Hey everyone. Today we're going to look at a little bit of annotation notes that I threw together for you tonight just to get us a sense of what we should be looking for and why the things that we look for are important. So this first text we're going to look at is from John Gardner's Grendel, which is the story of the Grendel monster from Beowulf, which is a story of Viking culture, and they love partying and attacking villages and going on raids and celebrating at their mead hall. And in the story, Grendel is a monster who lives nearby who, for whatever reason, it's never explained, just can't handle the happiness that he hears from the party. So he goes on a rampage and destroys most of the king's men. The king is distraught, and he summons for Beowulf, who, of course, shows up and vanquishes the beast, and then ends up killing the beast's mother. The movie version of Beowulf was terrible. Don't ever go watch it. But anyway, this novel actually tells the story from Grendel's point of view, which is kind of interesting. So we get perhaps some insight as to why Grendel is behaving in such a violent and gruesome manner, and why he just loves ripping warriors apart limb from limb. All right, so in my first round of annotations, I took a handy dandy yellow marker and I outlined every time John Gardner uses the pronoun I. Okay, it's an interesting technique. Point of view, we'll get into talking about that more in the future, but your point of view is the place from which the story is told, and you have first, second, and third point of view. In this case, it's first person point of view. I always remember first because it looks kind of like an I, first person. That's always from the point of view of the person telling the story. If you're a video game nerd, you know first person shooter is from the point of view, the eyes of the person holding the controller. It's a very popular form to tell video game stories because sometimes you feel like you could be that person in the game because it's from your eyes, your point of view. So I want you to think about why Gardner would tell the story of Grendel from this first person I point of view. What does that lend to the story? Understand that this is completely intentional. So what effect would having I in the story lend itself to telling the story of Grendel? And not just I, but look how many times he repeats I. And there's a reason for that. Next round of annotations. Now I'm focusing on more technical literary terms or writing strategies, which we'll talk about throughout the year. Don't get intimidated, but just something to keep your eye open for. You'll notice that on the very first page, Gardner repeats stupidly and says like an elder. So what I did was I highlighted in my pink highlighter, because those are literary terms and traditional writing strategies. Using stupidly twice is an example of what we call repetition. When an author wants to drive home a point, they might repeat a word or a phrase or a sentence or whatever. They might repeat it over and over again. So the fact that Grendel says stupidly twice is important because it's such a short passage that we're looking at. The fact that that word is repeated is important. Then I highlighted like an elder. Like an elder is a comparison. Like is an example of a simile. Don't stress out. I'm just telling you that this is what I'm starting to look for, is more specific and technical writing strategies. So that's why I highlighted it, the stupidity, and put an R with a circle next to it, and then like an elder with an S with a circle for simile. So R with a circle for me would be repetition, and S would be simile, and that's something that I would keep throughout the text. And finally, we break out the blue pen. In this case, is going to be where we examine our tone words. Tone is a very important writing strategy, literary term, whatever you want to call it. Tone refers to the sensation created within the reader that comes as a result of the author's choice of words. It's very important. Authors sneak this in their novels and texts and articles and poems, sometimes without you even knowing. So again, tone is the way an author creates a feeling using words. So the words horror, stamp, hammer, fist, hurl, hairy fist, howl, war, and pain stacked together like that in just such a short period of time, it's really important. Right from the first paragraph, we're getting a sensation of this guy Grendel, who is doing all these crazy things. He's angry, clearly angry, throwing a skull-sized rock at a goat. I mean, who does that, right? He's a psycho. And then you can start asking questions about perhaps why he's in this rage and what led him to have this conflict where he thinks everybody is stupid and everything is stupid and throw rocks at goats. So tone is really important. Be ready for tone because that could be something that might happen, that might be assessed on your summer reading assignment. And finally, where I start interacting with the text, where I'm writing notes in like a crazy person. So I've got questions. Who is the I? Is it Grendel? We actually technically don't know. The novel is called Grendel, but we're never clearly directed to the fact that this person who is the I is Grendel. Keeping the mystery of the narrator alive is an important writing strategy. Why is he so upset? How do we know he's upset? Well, look at those words: horror, stamp, hammer, fist, hurl. I mean, these are definitely those tone words that are telling us this guy is not in a good place right now. Probably upset that um, you know those Vikings are having a party and he hates the sounds of their joy, whatever. We don't know yet. Who is this war against? The end of the first paragraph said that he's involved in an idiotic war. Who is the war against? There has to be two to tango when you're talking about a war. And that brings me to the last point. One writing strategy or literary term that you can almost bank on it. You can almost put money down on the fact that in any piece of literature, any text, any poem, there will be what we call conflict. We'll get more into conflict as the year goes on, but conflict in this case is this I person is having a battle against something or someone. He has a grudge and he's very angry. So when we have this sort of battle between two entities for whatever reason, the catch-all term for that is conflict.